We are, as you guys are tuning in, this is an opportunity. Basically, Dhyana and I, every Wednesday, we talk about spiritual relationships. It's a dialogue that we are in, we're working on in our day-to-day life, and regularly discuss how we can be more effective, more supportive, more in a space of love and service in our relationships. And we know that this is important. It's the most important thing to practice. Most people on the planet, the most important thing, the area of greatest stress, and also the area of greatest joy we experience through loving connection relationships. And so either it's an amazing stress or challenge for us at different times, different phases in our life, different points in our day, in our relationships, or it's something that actually in the right consciousness brings us into this opportunity experience to really tap into grace and to really share and serve with love, and in that way really fulfill our hearts and our souls.
I remember before we got married, my dad said, Dhyana, 80% of your happiness or your suffering in life comes from who you marry. And so I just thought, like, I remember that feeling of like, wow, that's a big deal. Like, who we're partnered with really matters. It's a big choice. So then once we're in the relationship, yeah, we'll be talking about it more today, but it's like, what are we doing in this relationship? Are we coming closer together, or are we falling apart? Like gravity, anything that we lift up might fall if we don't keep lifting it up. And so relationship, it's that constant commitment to making each other happy.
Well, yeah, right. To making ourselves, we talk about this so often, right? It's like, yeah, okay, I can't make you happy, right? That sentiment, that mood, like I'm here to serve you. I'm here to connect with you. But really we're also, it's like that simultaneous, right? I'm doing everything I can to serve this person, and I'm doing everything I can to really become the best person I can for them. And so we're going to talk about that a bit today. We'll talk about some myths that whether we're in relationships or we're dating or we are single or we just hook up or whatever it is, whatever phase of relationships that we're in right now, what we're going to talk about today is relevant for actually attracting and actually qualifying ourselves, preparing ourselves for a truly fulfilling, truly satisfying relationship. And the first thing kind of kicking it off was just a little self-assessment for us to look at our lives right now, for us to look at the way that we're living, for us to look at the way that we interact in relationships right now. Are we ready to tell that story? If we fast forward in our life, if we fast forward all the way to the end of our life, are we fulfilled the way that we're living our life right now? Are we showing up in such a way that we're ready to tell that story? Like we're happy to write it down. We feel that we're giving life, our best shot. We're giving our relationships everything that we have. Are we in that space? Or if we're in a relationship right now, we fast forward a year from now, like, am I really giving this marriage or this partnership everything that I have? Or if I'm single right now in my life, am I showing up to my day-to-day life that I'm behaving in such a way that I'm becoming attractive to the person that I'm envisioning as a lover, as a partner, that I'm actually becoming a person that will be attractive to them. And so looking at that and just taking that self-assessment, where we're at with that in our own lives, and just the premise that we want to be with, every lady wants to be with a gentleman, a gentle, quality, loving, present, caring, protective, committed, all these different qualities. And every man wants to be with a lady, and a woman who is walking with grace and is experiencing, is an instrument and embodiment of compassion and selfless love. We're looking for that in each other. We're looking for those reminders. We're looking for that quality of connection, every person on this planet. And are we preparing for that? Is that something that we're doing actively each day of our life to prepare to be a lady, to prepare to be a gentleman, to prepare to be that highest self for ourselves, and also to be able to bring that as an offering to our relationships?
I think even just touching on that, oftentimes we think, like, when that person comes into my life, then I'll start taking care of myself. Then I'll start cooking, then I'll start dressing more nicely. Then I'll start. It's always like, when again, it's like that yogic principle. When something, sometime, somewhere happens, then I'll be prepared. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll be satisfied. Then I'll be committed. But like what Vira is saying is, what are you committed to now? And it's a personal commitment. That, like, what am I stepping into that will either attract a certain person into my life, or maybe because of my commitment to myself, it transforms the quality of relationship that's already happening. That the person that we're with begins to see us in a different light, and so then they begin to show up in a different way as well. And so I feel like what we're coming to oftentimes, like these past few weeks, is our personal commitment, you know, to ourself, to God, and then to each other.
Dhyana, I love you, baby. She's a lady. We see right there, as you put it up there. She's a lady. She is definitely a lady. There's so many of you guys, I know you're tuning in and out there. Beautiful, beautiful ladies that are out there. Wonderful men that are out there. Such hearts of gold, treasures, gifts to this planet. We want to come into that space where we're seeing that in ourselves, and we're offering that in service to our partners, to our friends, to our relationships. So we're going to talk a little bit today about just picking up from where you left off just now, Dee, is a couple, maybe we'll see how far we get. We're going to talk about a myth or two and kind of just see where our conversation goes from there. And a lot of.
Can we just pause for 1 second real quick?
Yeah, what's that?
I think that we'll probably talk about this in future episodes, but just I think a lot can come up around, like, to be a lady, and like what that means. It can and I just wanted to address it. Like, it can look different for every single person. It doesn't necessarily mean that you dress a certain way and talk a certain way and, you know, you are a certain way, but for every person, it shows up very different, you know, based on your nature. And so, you know, to be a lady or to be a gentleman, it's really to kind of like rid yourself of all the things that you think you need to be. Like, I need to be independent. I need to be strong. I need to take care of myself. Like, that's a lot of the work that I've done in a relationship, to soften those beliefs so that I can settle into this place of deep trust, which I feel like that's, for me, what it means to be a lady, is to begin to soften those barriers that I've built to protect myself, and to allow myself to be more deeply seen and held, and to really trust you and your guidance and your it could be like masculine, you know, energy, but ultimately it's you, you know, and how that comes through you. And so in every relationship, that balance, that dynamic is different, you know, kind of like Ayurveda. Every person is very different, but to find that balance in relationship is really important. And so I just wanted to touch on that really quickly, in case anybody was like, what do you mean every lady wants a gentleman? Every gentleman wants a lady. Right. If you don't identify with being very feminine or ladylike. And so I love this topic, and let's definitely talk about this in the future. Definitely.
Yeah. And thank you for catching that, Dhyana. There's so much sensitivity in communication. Easily things can be, you know, misconstrued, or that I love the essence of the point that you're bringing, is that we're trying to show up as we're trying to connect to ourselves spiritually, and we're trying to show up, you know, those pure spiritual qualities: compassion, kindness, grace, love, trust, forgiveness. We're trying to show
the qualities that serve our relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's ultimately everything, you know.
Absolutely. Okay. Yes. Yeah. There are different sexual preferences. There's so much nuance to that. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Dhyana. And so keeping that into consideration, that we are with you guys. We love you, no matter where you are, what background you're coming from, what your orientation is right now, that we're talking about some universal principles, and something that we hope that will be enriching. And the first thing we want to talk about is an assumption that oftentimes kind of informs our direction in life, and the decisions that we make in our day-to-day life, of actually showing up, you know, and really showing up in a way where we're growing and we're transforming our life. And the first one is the right person myth. And this is something that there's a Christian preacher, his name's Andy Stanley. I draw a lot of inspiration from him. Get to listen to him every now and then and share such practical messages. And so I appreciate that. I'm taking some of this from him. So shout out to Andy. And there's a myth that we have, and I know I've had in my life at different times for sure, that the right person myth. When I meet the right person, I'm going to be fulfilled. When you meet that right person, we've all had these thoughts before. When I meet that perfect partner, that perfect person, everything will be all right. I can do whatever I want. Whatever's going on in my life, I can do whatever I want. But when I meet that person, everything's going to be okay. I'm going to experience that love, that connection, that compassion, that grace. I'm going to experience that longing for that. And it's going to happen when I meet that right person.
I'll no longer be insecure or angry or, no longer have these habits when I meet the right person. They won't bring that out in me.
Yeah, totally. But we all know that in any committed relationship, that even if it is the best friendship, even if it's the perfect mother, the perfect father, perfect partner, we know that stuff comes up. We know that, the triggers, the things that tick us off, the things that trigger us, that ultimately when we come back to it, that's our stuff. That's our work. That's stuff that's coming up because the self-work that's needed, that stuff that's coming up because of the healing in our own hearts that's needed. And so when things don't work out, oftentimes in relationships, the first gut reaction, that first trigger is that, that I chose the wrong right person. So somehow or other, it's like, it's not about me. It's not about the transformation that needs to happen in my own heart, my own consciousness, and the relationship. Somehow or other, like, if I find the right person, I'm going to be happy. And if I'm not happy, I thought I found that right person. And if I'm not happy, then
it must be the wrong person.
It must be the wrong person. Exactly. And so we end up in this cycle, moving through relationships and not actually really doing the inner work. And so it's something that we're looking at, the thought process that something outside of myself is going to fix me. Something outside of myself is going to fulfill me. Something outside of myself is going to change me. And just coming back to this consciousness of, no, actually that's a state of being that I'm responsible to bring into a relationship. And if I'm not focused on becoming a better person, and rather I'm focused on finding the right person that's going to make me, I'm missing that opportunity for personal transformation. I'm missing that opportunity for growth.
I think that's oftentimes something that comes up a lot in relationships, whether it's a new relationship or even a committed relationship where people are married. Like, as struggles come up, it's like, is this the right person? Is it the right person? So what do you think, if that question is coming up? I mean, because in some level, it seems like, I don't know, like maybe there are some relationships where there's incompatibilities. And so in a sense, it is the wrong person.
Sure.
But what do you suggest one do when that question is coming up? Is this the right person? Is this the person that I should be committing to? Or would it actually serve both of us if I were to leave this relationship?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, super briefly, it's a big conversation. It's very, a lot of these things, when we're talking about it, there's a uniqueness to it. So we're talking about principles. And right now, just the principle, just the premise is that it's not somebody else that's going to fix me. There's not a right person that all of a sudden is magically going to make my life perfect. That's a myth, right? We look at that, and it's something that it's built into our culture. It's built into our society. It's built into our thinking, where we see it in movies. We're seeing it in reality television. We're seeing it in magazines. We're seeing, like, they came together, right? In the movie, it's an hour and a half of the proof that they come together, right? And they, through all the adversities and the challenges, finally they come together, right? The love happens. But like, okay, we fell in love, and I was appreciating, Andy saying to fall in love, basically, if you have a pulse, if you have a heartbeat, you can fall in love. Every single person on this planet can fall in love. But to stay in love, what does that take? To stay in love, to grow in love, to grow in service, to grow in personal transformation, personal growth, spiritual growth. What does that take? It takes so much more. It takes so much energy. It takes so much compassion, forgiveness, and so much more. And so, kind of just looking at that premise, that's the principle that we're bringing in right now. And what you're talking about is, if we do find ourselves in, how do we know if it's the right person? And I think that, we've spoken about that before, is really looking at the vision of our life. And something I was thinking about is just like a pulse check is, if I believe I want to be in a relationship, where I see this person as a child of God, And so then therefore, like, I want to selflessly serve this person. Like, I want to be as selfless as possible. I want to give myself as much as possible, helping to please this person's desires, helping to really understand their story, understand their life, understand their needs. And I want to give, because that's the type of relationship I want to be in. I want to
That's
give
love.
that, right? I want to give that selfless love. I want to move toward that selfless love. And the test is if I've given myself in that way, and we're seeing that someone's just taking advantage of it, someone's not returning it, it's just that we're living in integrity with our values. And we can see, practically, is someone ready to live that life? Is that something that they're actually interested in? Or are they just looking to keep themselves in the center? And if it is the case, and we're seeing that, this is a general principle. It's not something that I'm saying, it's not a blanket statement, but a general principle. I can see actually, no, we don't share values. We actually don't share a vision for life. And so if that's the case, then, maybe it's not something to really give myself to for me.
Yeah. And it's a sober place, not a mental place. It's being able to actually assess like what's actually happening in this relationship, not what am I feeling in this relationship? Because like you said, anybody can feel anything. But love isn't a feeling. Love is something that we show up to again and again and again so that we can ultimately keep serving. Like that's love expressed with service. And so it's not that I feel that this is the right person, but it's it's really assessing, are we moving in the right direction? Because life is short. And so what, again, it's like that question that comes up every week. What are we actually doing in this relationship? What is the purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a confronting place to come to, whether we're in relationship. And Dhyana, you and I, we talk about this often in our relationships. We talk about, we talk about our values. We talk about our vision. It's something that we had some alignment with and we felt some clarity with early on in our relationship. And it's something we have to keep working on. We've got to keep coming back to really see, like, are we still moving together? Do we still share a vision? Do we still share values and the way that we want to behave and show up in our relationship? And so whether we're just entering into relationship, whether we're single, whether we're in relationship, to be able to come back to these values of what's truly most important, what we believe is actually going to bring love, and it's actually going to bring, transformation. It's going to bring growth. It's going to bring empowerment into our lives, into our partner's lives, and living in integrity with those values. That's what we're looking for. And we can come to that at any point in our relationship. We can come to that, whether we're married right now, we're single, whatever it is, come to that clarity. We can live it ourselves because it's for ourselves ultimately. It's for ourselves ultimately. It's for our higher self, to act in integrity with, the nature of our soul, that we're beautiful, we're compassionate, we love to serve, and that, if we're connecting to that, that's going to be our own fulfillment, be able to bring that into the relationship.
I love what Casey just said. She says, love is a moment to moment choice. It's true. How do we show up? Because I feel like once there is deeper commitment, like, for example, with us, it's like, like there's a deep commitment to knowing like you are the person that we're going to be walking this journey of life together. But then still there's the mind, like I remember when we were first talking about, when you were still in New York City and I was down here, and I was like, maybe you should just jump in a car and drive down here, then you'll have to quarantine for a few days. And you were just like, I don't want to, I don't like to drive like by myself for 3 days straight. Like, I don't enjoy road trips. That's just like not who I am necessarily. And I remember,
not that I don't enjoy road trips. I just don't enjoy long distance driving.
3 days by yourself.
I love road trips with you. I love it.
I remember I got off the phone and I was sitting on the back porch, and like the mind does this thing. Like, I know I'm not my mind, but my mind does this thing where it's like, I want somebody who loves road trips. Like, I want somebody who will do anything just to be with me. I want somebody who would drive across the country just to see me for one night. Like, my mind does this thing because like I've seen movies like The Notebook, like I've seen what Noah would do for Allie or whatever it is. And so it's like my mind still goes to those places of like, is this the right person? And again, thank God I've talked about this in previous episodes where it's like, thank God I know I'm not my mind. And this is how, relationship becomes a meditation, because the mind wanders, bring it back. the mind wanders, bring it back. The mind wanders, like bring it back to this place of like there might be moments where it's like you're you know, and I feel like I can't accept you because I want you to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once there's commitment, there's that deep down trust of my mind's going to do all sorts of things, but this is my person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to work on my because it's it's not you, like you didn't do anything wrong. But my mind going to this place of, is this the right person? Did I choose the right person? It's my own inability to love, ultimately, you know, to show up and love you as you, you know, without needing to change you or needing you to be more of, you know, and like I can feel my own heart constrict when I start to question that, which I mean doesn't happen often, and I know it's not me. I'm deeply committed in this relationship, but my mind does that, you know, because we've had past experiences, we've had movies, we've had past relationships where they would have done it for me, you know. It's like, you know, but when there's that deeper commitment, which is like what you talked about, when we know the values are aligned, where we know we're moving in the same direction in our life, when we know like we're on the same page, like these little things that might make us question that, it's like we can just cut it right there and come back to this deep place of trusting yeah, that like this is the right person because this is who God has brought into my life to walk this journey with. And it's not just a feeling, you know, because we don't feel it all the time, but it's a deeper commitment that within each other. And the reasons why God has placed me in your life, you in my life. Now I shouldn't said Noah has a second chakra imbalance.
A serious second chakra. I was gonna say, I was like, man, that Noah, he really comes up quite a bit.
It's so funny
he set
like,
a high bar.
When I first watched that movie, I was like, Noah, so dreamy. He would do anything for Allie. He'd wait for her forever. But then recently as in like probably 5 years ago, when I watched this again, I was just like, Noah's like this depressed alcoholic that is completely dependent on this other person, you know. So just like even how our vision changes as we go into deeper commitment. Not to, anyways.
We're not bashing Noah. Let's keep that beautiful image of the ideal man that will swim across the ocean for his girl. And, yeah, he set a high bar. No, I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah. And so it's okay. So we're looking at this myth, right? The right person. There's the right person in my life. There's this person, this Noah, this dream, this ideal, this knight on a shining armor, this princess bride, this beautiful being, whoever it is, however that orientation is of our desire for a partner, the perfect partner. And this perfect partner is going to make me. This perfect partner is going to make me, right? And so this is a myth. This is something that
make me the perfect partner.
It's going to make me the
when you're the perfect partner, I'll be the perfect partner.
Right. So okay, we're looking at this. We want to crush this myth. We want to say, I actually that I want to become a person. I want to right now, I want to work on that. I'm in a relationship right now. I want to become that person that my beloved, whether it's a future beloved, whether it's a now beloved, that my beloved, when they look at, they say, this is the dream person that I could imagine being with. We want to work on becoming that right now. That's our work. That's our fulfillment in life. That's our rightful claim. That's our happiness. That's our experience of spiritual awakening, our experience of connection with God. And we want to bring that. Into all that we do, bring that into all of our relationships. And so this is the premise of Bhakti and any universal spiritual path, and this universal principle that it's our job, it's our inside work. And as we awaken, then so we can bring that into a relationship, bring that higher love. The second myth that we're going to talk about briefly is the promise myth. And the promise myth is a promise replaces the need for preparation, right? Now I found that perfect person. I found that ideal partner, that perfect person. Now it's an idea that we can vow or we can promise our way into that future perfect relationship. That through, okay, now we're in a relationship and I'm committed to you. Now we're in a relationship and I vow to you. We're married now. That promise is no substitute for preparation. I promise that I'm going to show up. It means that I actually show up and I'm doing the work. It's not just a promise.
It's the beginning, really.
You got it.
I think that's why oftentimes, people have been together for 10 years and they get married, or then they divorce in 6 months. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes once, all right, we're in it for the long haul, it's like we can just stop preparing, because the whole relationship is preparation.
Yes.
For that deeper and deeper and deeper love.
Yeah, definitely. And the analogy that I think of is, just growing up in sports, and we could take it into so many different spheres of life, but anything that we're doing, anything that we want to experience excellence in, anything that we want to be at the highest level of our potential, it means preparation. It means practice. I'm a coach, okay, so it's like my coach, on the football team, coach, I promise that I'm going to show up to the game and I'm going to play. I'm going to give it everything I have. But if I'm not showing up day to day to practice, I'm not showing up day to day to prepare, that's no substitute, right? Any coach or any person is going to see actually what energy are you putting in? How much are you sacrificing? How much are you putting on the table actually to transform yourself, to make yourself the best you can possibly be, to bring that to the table, to bring that to the field of life, to bring that to the relationships. And so, I remember just a little brief thing as I was reflecting on this is, when I was 17, Dhyana and I, we've known each other since we were kids, and have our crush story. We've known each other since I was 11, she was 10, and we almost immediately we saw each other. We had a crush on each other, and something that we had our whole lives. It was this sort of idea that we would one day be together. And I remember when I was 15, 16, 17, and I remember even later, I wasn't ready for a relationship. I wasn't ready to commit. I wasn't ready to actually show up as that person. I wasn't prepared for this goddess. I wasn't prepared. I would have made a mess of it. And so when I was, I think I was about 20 years old, I remember Dhyana, he came and picked me up from the Miami airport. I was flying back from a wedding in Colombia. And just a super spontaneous, one of the more spontaneous things I've done in my life is I was flying back. It was a Sunday. I was supposed to work on Monday at my job.
Layover in Miami.
A layover in Miami. And Dhyana was, thought she was near Miami, but was really
on the opposite coast,
5 hours away or something like that. And somehow or other, just a little seed was planted. She's like, why don't you just stay? Why don't you just, because there was a reunion of a bunch of friends that we grew up with in Florida. And so long story short, so I make this crazy decision to, abruptly take more time off from work. And I don't even have my bags. They're checked through to Dallas. And just with basically my wallet and my backpack, I wait for Dhyana to come pick me up. And I remember we had this dreamy drive up Highway 1 and we were connecting. We were having such a beautiful, dreamy kind of connection, very heart connected and very attracted to each other. And I knew at that time, I had enough maturity. Thank God at that time I knew. And not that anything would have happened or anything like that, but it was, I knew I had to have my boundary. I knew it because I knew I wasn't prepared. I knew I wasn't prepared for you. You're too sacred. You're too special of a person. I'm not going to lose it. I'm not going to fail here, right? I'm not going to do something right now for an immediate pleasure, knowing my consciousness, my heart, my way of living, I'm not ready for this quality of relationship. I'm not ready to actually hold you and build that love. And so my life, and it took several more years. It took another 5 years after that, of preparation, of inner work, of transformation, of receiving coaching, receiving guidance, going through that inner work, growing spiritually, living a life closer and closer to integrity, living of values and principles to actually be prepared. And even still, in the beginning of our relationship, I'm working on it. I've got a lot more to work on, but to even be prepared to hold space for you. And so seeing, that it's commitment is just the beginning of a relationship, and commitment to our personal growth and our personal transformation, that is an ongoing cycle. We're working on ourselves to show up as the most loving, beautiful person that we possibly can be in service to our relationship, in service to God in that way.
Mm. I love something that Andy Stanley said that you wrote down, is that saying I do to another person doesn't make you capable. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, again, like not like all of a sudden we're capable when we enter into that relationship, but what it does make you is accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're accountable, but you're not capable, it
Mm-hmm.
makes you miserable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so,
Wow. Yeah, that's right. When you're, because in a relationship, we're accountable. Whether we're dating, whether we're in we have a committed girlfriend, boyfriend, relationship, whether we're in a marriage or we're engaged, we're accountable. Yeah.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're not prepared, so, if you're not prepared, basically,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Are we
yeah,
actually capable, right? It's like,
yeah,
no, like we're talking about like capacity to actually be in a relationship, to actually hold space for another person, actually to show up in a way which is of service and helping the relationship to grow and nourish and thrive.
yeah, which means we have to just keep preparing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And it's like, okay, if I'm not capable, if I'm accountable in a relationship, but I'm not capable, I'm going to suffer. That is for any sphere of life, whatever sphere of life we look at. If I'm an executive of a company, I'm accountable. I've got a role. I have responsibilities. If I'm not capable, if I haven't prepared, if I haven't worked diligently, hard to understand what it means to actually run that organization in a healthy way, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to be miserable because that accountability and that capacity, that's going to grind me. And so in a
Yeah.
relationship or in any sphere of our life.
And so you you talked a lot about how preparing means like working on
Mm-hmm.
yourself, working on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so can we give some kind of tangible
Mm-hmm.
ways, like what does that mean to be working on ourselves? How do we actually prepare? Like how do we flex those muscles so that we can be prepared in our
Yeah.
relationship rather than
Mm-hmm.
just accountable? We can also be prepared.
We can be prepared. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the premise that we keep coming back to, spiritual relationships, we still haven't figured out a title necessarily, but we're talking about spirituality and relationships on this podcast. And the premise is that connecting spiritually,
Mm,
connecting to God, connecting to our higher power, connecting to our spirit soul, the diamond self underneath the mind, underneath the ego, underneath the body, the diamond self, that pure self, connecting there, investing in ourselves spiritually. It's going to make us a better person. It's going to make us better at
mm,
life. It's going to make us better at relationships, communication, every quadrant of it. And some practical tools. We talk about, oftentimes we talk about the analogy of a tree for our life, the analogy of a spiritual tree. I don't know if you wanted to share on that, Dee, looking at the roots of the tree and the trunk of the tree and the crown of the tree.
yeah, oftentimes, we spend so much of our life maybe pruning the branches or making it look really nice. We might water the leaves, which won't actually nourish us deeply, and so those can be compared to all the external things in our life.
Mhm.
And whether it's our home or our relationships that are outside of us or our business or our career. And so what Radhanath Swami really urges us to do, I believe Srila Prabhupada gave him the metaphor, is that we have to water the roots. And
Mhm.
the roots are that's our spiritual connection.
Mhm.
Because by watering the roots of the tree, automatically every other part of the tree is nourished.
Mhm.
And again, oftentimes we can spend our whole life, in this world that's made up of matter, in this material world, just dealing with matter, just dealing with all these external things, thinking that when I prune this tree just right, then my house will look perfect. Then again, as we talked about this in the beginning, then I'll be satisfied, then I'll feel content, then I'll feel worthy and valued. When my partner shows up in this certain way, then I'll feel like I'm capable to show up in that way as well. And so we can wait lifetimes. Yoga says not only this one lifetime, we can wait lifetimes for that perfect situation, for that perfect experience, for that perfect partner that will never come
Mhm.
if we haven't watered the roots of the tree. And that by watering the roots of our tree, which means our own sadhana, time every day to connect deeply to the root of all existence, which is our source, divinity, God, whatever it is that you connect to, as the energy that is greater than just us, then we'll feel deeply nourished, and all aspects of our life will also be nourished by that. We'll begin to cultivate these qualities that we never even knew existed inside of us, like compassion, like gratitude, and we'll be able to show up in all areas of our life from that deeper place, where we're not really swayed by the externals as they keep changing, or as you show up and tell me that you don't want to road trip all the way down. I'm not going to be swayed by that, because I'm more firmly rooted in what's actually real and what's actually valuable. And from there, we can begin to seek the guidance of coaches, teachers, great souls that have walked the path before us, whether it's, we talked about this in our third week, seeking that counsel, that support, of how to show up in relationships in ways that really serve, and how to navigate the challenges as they arise, because we can try to do it by ourselves. It might work eventually, but it'll take a lot longer. But if we can seek the guidance of those people that we feel deeply in our hearts that can support us through the challenges, we can become much, much stronger together. And then also the skills, which we also talked about in week 1, like the skills in how to communicate and how to connect. There's skills that we don't all come into life with. There's actually skills that we can learn that will help us navigate challenging situations in ways that really uplift the relationship and it's like a fresh breeze when you open the window. That fresh breeze can breathe through your relationship when we begin to develop skills and learn how to actually navigate them. And that's really what we pray, just through sharing our own experience and the little knowledge that we have. We pray to get to serve you in this way, every Wednesday or individually, if that's what you're hoping for in your relationship. We're here to help support you in that, because again, like my dad said, 80% of our happiness or suffering in life comes from the quality of our primary relationship. And so it's a big deal. And we're all in it together. You're not alone in it.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, Dhyana. Just, looking at that and saying, okay, like actually for me to become that person, what I'm looking at is, okay, if I'm looking at this analogy of a tree, the roots of my tree of life that nourish them spiritually, prayer, meditation, through the Bhakti path, calling out the names of the divine, whether that is in ecstatic dancing and singing and, or it's in silence and meditation, contemplation, but calling out the names. And there's so many names, there's limitless names of God, of the divine, to call those names out with sincerity of heart. That's looked at as one of the most powerful practices in this age, in this time, to reconnect spiritually. And that the trunk of the tree, right? That these relationships, the friendships, the coaches, the guides, the individuals that we look to and we say, man, you know what? The way they live in their life inspires me. I want to be more like them. The way that they interact in their relationships and communicate inspire me. I want to be more like them. How can I serve them? How can I learn from them? How can I connect with them? How can I appreciate them and be grateful for those people to be able to build those qualities, to be able to build that quality of relationship and consciousness in my own life? And so looking at those two as, we're talking about those roots and looking at the trunk of relationships of our life, and to be able to take it into a practical step into our life. How do we become that person? And I love it. I want to become the person, right? I want to become the kind of person that the person that I'm dreaming of, the person that I'm dreaming of is hoping and is actually looking for. I'm thinking of that perfect person, right? I'm thinking of them. I think of all those qualities, the compassion, the love, the tolerance, the communication, the commitment, the, commitment to personal growth, the commitment to being, showing up in service. I want to be that. I want to be that for that person. I want to have those qualities. And
then if you're in a committed relationship, if it's not like you're looking for your person, but if you're in a committed relationship, it's what is that person's dream person like, and how can I show up for them in that way? And again, if it doesn't take you out of your values, because ideally if you're in a committed relationship, it's because you know that your values are aligned. So it's not like, well, my person has always wanted somebody who just kicks back and watches TV and drinks beer all day.
Mm.
Okay, if that's what they want, let me show up for them like that, because that would take me really far out of what I feel like is really valuable in life, and how I want to utilize my time. And so it's showing that the values are aligned, which, you know, we've talked about in week one. But how can I, like, what has Vera always wanted? Like, what will make him feel so deeply loved and nourished? What is his love language? And even if it's not naturally how I express my love, how can I practice that? Because that's what he needs in order to feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that ability to, yeah, we're so malleable. And if we're in a relationship, we might as well keep supporting each other and serving each other, so that, you know, the more happy you are, the more bright you shine, the more happy I'll feel. And then we keep lifting each other up in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful. So beautiful, Dhyana. And, you know, again, we're talking about a couple principles here. You know, relationships are, there's so many different angles, so many different perceptions on them. And Toga's asking on here, will you be doing Q&A? I think we could definitely take a question if anybody wants to post it. But otherwise,
our little honey just came home.
Okay, cool. So please post your question, and let's see if we can get to it today, or either we'll put some thought toward it, and but please post it so we can see it. And
yeah, please post questions. They always, like we talk about at the end of every session, they always inspire us with topics that we can talk about. So please post questions. They're super helpful.
Yeah, and just in kind of looking at, you know, this stream of conversation that we just went through right now, is that I'm looking for myself. I'm not looking for the perfect person. I'm looking to perfect myself. You know, that I'm never, may not ever be perfect, but I'm looking to work toward that excellence and that perfection in different areas of my life. And I'm preparing. Every single day is an opportunity for that preparation. And so we talked about some very practical ways we can start to influence our lives in a positive way, spiritually, through relationships that we bring into our life, those quality relationships that we seek out and bring into our life, and how we connect every single day to our higher power and to ourselves spiritually. Right now, let's think about that. Let's meditate on it. Give it 30 seconds. Give it a minute. How do you nourish yourself spiritually? And if you really are like, man, I don't know, like this is a question where it's like, I don't know, buddy, you know, reach out to us, DM us. We can share some practices with you that are easy, that are simple, that are very powerful, time proven. But if you know already, there are practices that you've done in the past that have brought you close to your higher power, brought you close to yourself spiritually. What are those? And what are you going to commit to doing, even for 1 minute a day, starting today? And who are those people that when you look at, when you think about, when you close your eyes, that represent something sacred for you? They represent a direction that you want to see yourself go in. How can you come closer to them? How can you appreciate them, be grateful for them, and in some way come closer so you can learn from them and grow with them? Let's in our mind's eye, let's take that, let's take a couple notes down, let's take that into action, even if it's 1 minute on each of those, at least 1 minute. Let's put it toward that today. And super grateful to be with you all you guys that are tuning in. And Dhyana, you're an angel. I love you. And we're here for you guys. Please DM us if we can serve you in any way. Again, if you have questions on this, or something that we said came up and you feel like you need some clarification on it, we're excited. We want to share things that are relevant to you guys, that are helpful for you guys and are meaningful for you guys. And we want to learn from you guys. And when you share your thoughts and share your heart with us, then we grow, and we all grow together in relationships, and we all grow together spiritually. So super grateful. So grateful to be with you. Love you, Dhyana. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Bye, everybody. Thank you all so much.